Ever imagined the heartbreak of a father watching his son descend into tragedy? Matthew Crook's journey from a respected social worker to a man facing huge personal and public challenges. His story is one of deep sadness. From the ignored pleas for help regarding his son's deteriorating mental health to the fateful day his son attempted to assassinate former President Donald Trump, Matthew's story is one of a father's worst nightmares. This video will cover the heart-wrenching details of Matthew Crook's life, the impact of his son's actions, and the consequences he now faces. Ignored plea for help. On July 13, 2024, Matthew and Mary Crooks, parents of Thomas Matthew Crooks, made a desperate call to the Bethel Park Police Department. They reported their son missing and expressed deep concerns about his deteriorating mental health. Despite their alarm and detailed information about his state, the authorities did not take immediate and effective action. Hours later, Thomas Crooks opened fire at a Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, injuring the former president and killing one attendee. During the call, Matthew Crooks revealed that his son had been increasingly withdrawn and exhibiting erratic behavior. He emphasized that Thomas had recently spoken about feeling hopeless and displayed signs of severe depression. Despite these clear indicators of potential danger, the response from law enforcement was insufficient. The police did not escalate the matter to mental health crisis intervention teams or initiate a more comprehensive search that could have prevented the tragic outcome. In a brief call with CNN on Saturday night, Matthew Crooks said he was attempting to figure out what the hell is going on and that he needed to wait until I talked to law enforcement before saying anything further. The police department has faced significant backlash for their handling of the situation. In a press conference, Police Chief Kevin Smith acknowledged the call from the Crooks but defended the department's actions. They mentioned that they followed standard procedure based on the information provided. However, many critics argue that the standard procedures are inadequate for addressing severe mental health crises, especially with explicit warnings from the family. His parents' worst fears materialized as he opened fire, resulting in chaos and tragedy. The FBI and Secret Service are now investigating the sequence of events leading up to the shooting. The Crooks family is now dealing with the severe consequences of the incident. Both parents, respected counselors, are grappling with the reality that their son's cry for help was not adequately addressed. Their professional reputations and personal lives have been irrevocably impacted. Exhausted due to all the media involvement, they issued a statement to Fox News, saying, "We just want to try to take care of ourselves right now. Please, just give us our space." Mark Crooks, Thomas's uncle, expressed his shock and confusion over the incident. In an interview, he mentioned that he had not been in close contact with Thomas for years and was inundated with calls following the shooting. Mark stated, "I don't know what to say," showing his disbelief and struggle to process the news. He revealed that he hadn't seen Thomas since he was a child and had no idea what might have motivated him to commit such a violent act. The local community in Bethel Park has been shaken by the events. Neighbors and friends of the Crooks family have expressed their shock and sorrow. Neighbors of Thomas Matthew Crooks, the would-be assassin of former President Trump, said they are shocked by the evil next door. In the immediate aftermath, neighbors revealed intriguing details about the political environment in which Crooks was raised. Kelly Little, a neighbor in Bethel Park, noted the presence of pro-Trump signs in the Crooks family's yard, stating, "There absolutely were MAGA-supporting signs for a while." This revelation paints a picture of a household with visible support for Trump, despite the ambiguity surrounding Crooks's own political beliefs. Crooks' political leanings are not straightforward. Official records show he was registered as a Republican voter in Pennsylvania, yet he also made a $15 donation to a Progressive Political Action Committee on January 20, 2021, the day President Joe Biden was inaugurated. This juxtaposition has led to speculation about his true political stance and whether his actions were ideologically driven or motivated by other factors. The family dynamics further complicate the narrative. Crooks's mother, a registered Democrat, and his father, a Libertarian voter, both worked as social workers. Their professional and personal backgrounds suggest a diverse political environment within the household. How did the authorities miss the red flags that Matthew and Mary Crooks so clearly laid out? What unfolded after the ignored call to the police? The sequence of events that followed paints a grim picture of missed opportunities and tragic consequences. As the hours ticked by, Thomas Crooks's plans took a sinister turn. The fallout of a failed assassination. On July 13, 2024, the peaceful atmosphere of a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania was shattered when 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks opened fire on former President Donald Trump. The event quickly descended into chaos as the sound of gunfire echoed through the crowd, injuring Trump and killing rally attendee Corey Comparatore. Thomas Crooks, a Bethel Park resident and recent graduate of Allegheny County Community College, arrived at the rally site early in the day. Witnesses later reported seeing him using a rangefinder to measure distances, an act that aroused suspicion among local law enforcement. Despite being flagged as suspicious, Crooks managed to evade tighter security measures and positioned himself on a rooftop overlooking the rally venue. At approximately 2:30 p.m., as Trump began his speech, Crooks opened fire with an AR-15 rifle. He fired a total of 8 shots before being neutralized by Secret Service counter-snipers. One of the bullets grazed Trump's ear, causing minor injuries, while another hit and killed Comparatore, a Trump supporter attending the rally. The Secret Service and local law enforcement swiftly moved to secure the area. The FBI took over the investigation, identifying Crooks as the shooter. The weapon used was an AR-15 rifle legally purchased by his father years earlier. The presence of explosives in Crooks's car suggested a level of premeditation that could have led to even greater devastation had he not been stopped. In the wake of the shooting, the Crooks family was thrust into the national spotlight. FBI Special Agent Kevin Rojek, leading the investigation, confirmed the identity of the shooter and described the attack as an assassination attempt. He noted the lack of specific threat information related to the event, but emphasized the ongoing efforts to determine Crooks' motive. "We do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was," he mentioned in a press conference. In addition to the emotional toll, the Crooks family faces potential legal and professional repercussions. Their licenses as professional counselors are under review, and they are cooperating fully with the FBI investigation. What could have driven Thomas to commit such a devastating act? To truly grasp the depths of this tragedy, we must explore the troubled details of his early life. Thomas Matthew Crooks was born on September 20, 2003, and raised in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. The Crooks family lived in a neighborhood described as middle to upper middle class, and both of his parents, Matthew and Mary Crooks, worked as licensed professional counselors, providing a stable and supportive environment. However, the trajectory of Thomas's early life, marked by significant personal challenges, set the stage for a tragic series of events that would deeply impact his family. During his years at Bethel Park High School, Thomas excelled academically, joining the National Technical Honor Society in 2021 and graduating with high honors in 2022. He was awarded a $500 Star Award from the National Math and Science Initiative, reflecting his intellectual capabilities. Despite his academic success, Thomas faced severe bullying for his quiet demeanor, body odor, and unique attire, including camouflage hunting outfits and surgical masks. While the school's records showed no disciplinary incidents involving Thomas, these experiences undoubtedly shaped his social interactions and mental state. The bullying was relentless, with peers frequently mocking him and calling him names. Some students remembered him sitting alone at lunch and being an outcast, not participating in sports or other student groups. Thomas's interests extended to chess, video games, and computer programming, leading him to attend a computer technology program at the Steele Center for Career and Technical Education. His passion for technology was a refuge from his social struggles, providing a sense of achievement and purpose. However, what Thomas said in 2019 is notable. In 2019, when Crooks was 15 years old, he allegedly posted threats on an anonymous school platform, warning students not to come to school and implying that he had placed bombs in the cafeteria bathrooms. Vincent Taormina, a former classmate, recalled, "Half of us just didn't come to school the next day. I didn't, but it wasn't taken seriously." Despite the significant impact on student attendance that day, school officials did not take substantial action against Crooks or his friend group, who were identified as the source of the threats. This incident is now a focal point in the FBI investigation, as it closely mirrors the attack Crooks launched at the Trump rally. Thomas Crooks, the shooter in this case, has experienced major depression disorder. That fits quite in line with the pathway to violence on a threat assessment, explained Dr. John Sensish, a criminologist at Penn West University. Crooks' history of being bullied relentlessly by his peers, who mockingly called him the school shooter, also played a significant role in his path to violence. The isolation and teasing he endured may have fueled his desire to prove himself through the tragic events at the rally. Dr. Kensich noted, "We can see it's been reported by his classmates that he was bullied almost daily, that he sat alone. He said very little." Jameson Myers, a former classmate, mentioned, "He was somebody who came across as lonely a lot. He tended to be more of an interesting one, more socially reserved, and didn't have a ton of friends." Myers emphasized that Crooks never discussed politics or expressed any radical views, describing him as a fan of Star Wars and a very nice, even sweet guy from what I knew. Another student who sat behind Crooks in AP statistics classes echoed similar sentiments, stating, "One thing I did know for sure was he was very smart. I always remember hearing his test grades when we would all compare, and he always did very well in math and sciences." This student also noted that Crooks was never anything but kind and did not appear threatening. Crooks' attempt to join the high school rifle team was met with rejection due to his poor shooting skills. Myers recounted, "He didn't just not make the team, he was asked not to come back because of how bad of a shot he was. It was considered dangerous. This rejection might have further isolated him socially and emotionally. Another classmate, Zoe Matakowski, described Crooks as just a quiet kid who kept to himself. Jason Kohler, who graduated a year before Crooks, also noted that Crooks was a loner, often sitting alone at lunch. After high school, Thomas continued his education at the Community College of Allegheny County, earning an associate degree in engineering science just 2 months before the shooting. At the time, he worked as a dietary aide at a local nursing home, where he passed a background check and was considered a reliable employee. He had also been accepted to both the University of Pittsburgh and Robert Morris University, planning to attend the latter.
He was bullied almost every day.
In what way? Can you explain?
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're gonna see someone like that and they're gonna target him because they think it's funny or whatever.
Despite his promising future, Thomas's involvement with a local shooting club and his access to firearms hinted at underlying issues. His meticulous preparation for the Trump rally shooting, including purchasing a ladder and ammunition on the morning of the attack, shows his determination to carry out his plan. On the day of the shooting, Crooks practiced his aim at a local sportsman's club before making the hour-long drive to the rally. The system's failure led to the tragic events at the Trump rally and also left Matthew grappling with guilt and a sense of helplessness. What happened after the unfortunate shooting was even more horrifying. Matthew was forced to see an image of his lifeless son that no one should have to see. The scene was chaotic and grim. Body cam footage from Butler County Emergency Services Unit captured Secret Service and local law enforcement officers standing over the lifeless body of Thomas Matthew Crooks shortly after his attempt on former President Donald Trump's life. A trail of blood led to where Crooks lay, glasses still on his face, marking the violent end to his actions from a rooftop overlooking the rally. The footage showed a Beaver County sniper recounting how he spotted Crooks and sent pictures before the shooting began. The sniper observed Crooks arriving by bike, setting down a book bag, and then losing sight of him. This sequence of events shows severe lapses in security, leading to the resignation of Secret Service Director Kim Cheatle. In her resignation letter, Cheatle accepted full responsibility for the operational failures surrounding the incident, describing it as the most significant lapse in the agency's history. For Matthew Crooks, witnessing his son's tragic end was a crushing blow. As the graphic body cam footage circulated, revealing the grim aftermath of the shooting, questions arose about how Thomas Matthew Crooks obtained the weapon used in the attack. A father's weapon turned tool of tragedy. The AR-15 rifle used in the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump was legally purchased by Thomas Matthew Crooks's father, Matthew Crooks. This rifle, along with more than 20 other firearms, was kept in the family home in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Matthew, an avid gun enthusiast, had bought the AR-15 legally in 2013. This firearm, meant for recreation and protection, tragically became the instrument of a devastating act committed by his son. According to Pennsylvania State Police records, all of Matthew's firearms were legally registered. The AR-15, a semi-automatic rifle, was one of the most prominent weapons in his collection due to its versatility and popularity among gun enthusiasts. Despite being kept securely, Thomas had access to the AR-15. As a member of a local shooting club, he was familiar with handling firearms, although he was not known for his marksmanship. On the morning of July 13, 2024, Thomas took the AR-15 from his father's collection and 50 rounds of ammunition from a local store nearby. For Matthew Crooks, the realization that a weapon he legally purchased and kept in his home was used by his son in an assassination attempt is a source of guilt, alongside legal hurdles. The investigation into the shooting has been treated as a potential act of domestic terrorism. As the nation grappled with the tragic use of a father's legally purchased AR-15, the spotlight shifted to the shattered lives of Matthew and Mary Crooks, whose journey from respected social workers to social outcasts is a reflection of the devastating impact of their son's actions. From social worker to social outcast, Matthew and Mary Crooks, both licensed social workers, were once seen as respected members of their community in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. They had built their careers on helping others navigate personal challenges and mental health issues, holding active licenses as professional counselors since 2002. However, the tragic actions of their son, Thomas Matthew Crooks, have dramatically altered their lives, casting a shadow over their professional reputations and turning them into social outcasts. Cameras capturing Matthew Crooks leaving a grocery store in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, Monday. "We'll release a statement when our legal counsel advises us to do so," made the brief remarks walking to his car with groceries, his first appearance in public since the attack. Their home in Bethel Park has been under constant surveillance by media and law enforcement since the incident. The FBI conducted thorough searches of their home, car, and phones to gather evidence and understand the motive behind their son's actions. Both Matthew and Mary's licenses are under review, and there is ongoing speculation about whether they will be able to continue their careers in counseling. Paul Gianfrido, former CEO and president of Mental Health America, provided insights into the potential warning signs that might have been missed. There are kinds of conditions that arise out of being bullied, out of homes where there has been a violent kind of living, in communities where there's been a great deal of violence. These tend to create problems for people and are more likely to be predictors of the kind of violence we saw on Saturday, he said. However, he cautioned against jumping to conclusions about mental illness without thorough investigation. The tragic irony of the Crooks situation is painfully clear. As social workers, they were trained to identify and address mental health issues, yet their own son slipped through the cracks of the system. Despite their professional expertise, they were unable to prevent the tragedy that unfolded, leading to an overwhelming sense of failure. As Matthew and Mary Crooks navigate their new reality as social outcasts, another looming question emerges. Could they also face legal consequences for their son's tragic actions? Facing the law. The critical question now is whether they could face legal consequences based on their knowledge and actions before the incident. The Crooks situation draws parallels to the case of James and Jennifer Crumbley, parents of Ethan Crumbley, the Michigan high school shooter. The Crumbleys were sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter, a historic case that held parents accountable for their child's actions due to their gross negligence. This precedent raises questions about the liability of Matthew and Mary Crooks in their son's actions. In the days leading up to the shooting, Thomas Crooks conducted internet searches related to the Crumbley case, indicating he was aware of the legal consequences his actions could have on his parents. This detail, revealed by FBI and Secret Service officials, suggests that Thomas might have considered the impact of his actions on his family. However, this also complicates the assessment of his parents' potential culpability. Experts emphasize that the legal consequences for the Crooks depend heavily on what they knew and did before the shooting. Adam Garber, executive director of Ceasefire PA, highlights two critical questions. What did the parents know about their son's intentions, and how did he access the firearm? The answers to these questions will be crucial in determining their legal responsibility. Pennsylvania does not have a safe storage law that mandates securing firearms in homes with minors, and since Thomas was over 18, this further complicates the case against his parents. Without explicit legal requirements for firearm storage and considering Thomas's age, the Crooks might not face the same level of legal accountability as the Crumbleys. Similarly, in 2000, Jamel James was charged with involuntary manslaughter after his 6-year-old nephew found a handgun he had stored in a shoebox. The child took the gun to school and fatally shot a classmate. James was found to have demonstrated gross negligence by leaving a loaded firearm accessible to a child. In comparison, while Thomas Crooks was over 18 and legally able to handle firearms, the scrutiny on Matthew Crooks revolves around whether he adequately secured his firearms and if he was aware of the potential risks his son posed. Legal focus would be on whether Matthew's actions or inactions were similarly negligent, given his son's history and access to the AR-15 used in the shooting. In another case, Robert Crimo III's father faced charges of reckless conduct after his son used a firearm, which the father had signed for, in a mass shooting at a parade. The father was accused of knowing the risk his son posed, yet still facilitating his access to firearms. He pleaded guilty to 7 misdemeanor counts of reckless conduct. Similarly, in the Crooks case, prosecutors would need to determine whether Matthew Crooks knew or should have known about his son's potential for violence and whether he took sufficient measures to prevent it. The focus would be on any signs of Thomas's mental instability or dangerous behavior that Matthew might have ignored. The infamous case of Nancy Lanza, mother of Adam Lanza, who carried out the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre, was not charged posthumously. However, her case remains a significant reference point. Adam used firearms owned by his mother to commit the atrocity. Although Nancy was not prosecuted, her case shows the potential legal and moral scrutiny parents can face when their firearms are used in crimes by their children. The parallel lies in the responsibility of firearm owners to prevent their weapons from being misused, especially by individuals showing signs of mental distress. In another case involving James and Kimberly Sneed, guardians of Nicholas Cruz, faced civil lawsuits after Cruz used a rifle stored in their home to carry out the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. The lawsuits claimed the Sneeds failed to monitor Cruz adequately and secure the firearms, constituting negligence. In the Crooks scenario, they might similarly face civil lawsuits from victims' families arguing that Matthew and Mary Crooks were negligent in monitoring their son and securing their firearms. The comparison lies in the potential for civil liability when parents or guardians fail to take necessary precautions to prevent access to deadly weapons. Remember the tragic incident at Columbine High School. The parents of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, perpetrators of the Columbine High School shooting, faced multiple civil lawsuits from victims' families. These lawsuits alleged parental negligence contributed to the massacre. Although no criminal charges were brought, the civil suits emphasized the significant impact of parental responsibility. For the Crooks family, this case poses the possibility of facing civil litigation for alleged negligence. The emphasis would be on whether they failed to recognize and act upon warning signs, thus allowing their son to commit the crime. Andrew Willinger, executive director of the Duke Center for Firearms Law, notes that for the Crooks to be held liable, the facts would need to demonstrate severe negligence, such as multiple serious warning signs and improper storage over a longer period. Currently, based on available information, it appears unlikely that the Crooks' actions meet this threshold. Matthew Crooks called the police on the morning of the shooting, expressing concerns about his son's whereabouts and mental state. This proactive step indicates that the parents were aware of potential issues and sought intervention. However, the effectiveness and timeliness of this intervention are crucial factors in assessing their legal culpability. The shooting has reignited discussions about political violence and its implications for democracy. Jeffrey A. Engel, founding director of the Center for Presidential History at Southern Methodist University, emphasized the importance of understanding Crooks' motivations. If this is an individual who was like a school shooter, disturbed and angry, and found this as a way to lash out, that's a terrible, terrible social problem we need to deal with, but it's not a question of our democracy, Engel said. This distinction is crucial in determining whether Crooks' actions were politically motivated or driven by personal grievances. Historically, assassins have been challenging to profile accurately. The U.S. Secret Service's analysis of 83 actual or would-be assassins between 1949 and 1996 concluded that there are no reliable descriptive profiles for such individuals. Crooks fits some broader trends identified in this study, such as being a young, white male, but diverges in significant ways, including his lack of a clear history of grievances or an overtly political agenda. Comparisons with other notorious cases, such as the attempts on Presidents James Garfield and Ronald Reagan, reveal that motives can range from personal grievances to attempts to gain attention or win approval from influential figures. For instance, Charles J. Guiteau, who assassinated President Garfield, was driven by delusions and a sense of personal slight, while John Hinckley Jr., who shot at Reagan, did so to impress actress Jodie Foster. Gillian Peterson, a forensic psychologist, noted that Crooks' actions might inspire other disillusioned individuals seeking notoriety. This is a person likely trying to make headlines, going out in a final act, Peterson said. This potential for copycat behavior highlights the importance of understanding the underlying factors that drive individuals to commit such acts of violence. Any legal consequences would be determined only once the investigation is over. So, what are the latest updates being made? Here's what law enforcement agencies have revealed. The investigation has yielded significant developments. These findings provide new insights into the circumstances leading up to the attack and the actions taken by law enforcement.
The assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell.
Recent reports indicate that Thomas Matthew Crooks conducted surveillance of the rally site using a drone just hours before the event. This premeditated action was a crucial part of his plan to position himself on a rooftop overlooking the venue, where he later opened fire on Trump. Additionally, searches of Crooks' devices revealed that he had looked up various high-profile figures, including Trump, President Joe Biden, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and Attorney General Merrick Garland. He also researched major depressive disorder, indicating his awareness of his mental health struggles. The investigation into his online activities has revealed minimal but significant digital footprints that may shed light on his state of mind before the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. One of the notable findings was a chilling message Crooks allegedly posted on Steam, a popular online gaming platform. July 13th will be my premiere. Watch as it unfolds, Crooks wrote, hinting at his planned attack. Discord, another social media platform, identified a rarely used account linked to Crooks, but found no evidence that it was utilized to plan the attack or promote violence. In a statement to ABC News, a Discord spokesperson said the account linked to the alleged shooter also did not promote violence or discuss his political views. This indicates that while Crooks may have had an online presence, he did not overtly express violent intentions or political ideologies on these platforms. The fate of Matthew and Mary Crooks, parents of Thomas Matthew Crooks, extends far beyond the death of their son and the potential legal ramifications. Being thrust into the national spotlight spotlight has implications for their safety and well-being, especially given the intense emotions and polarized reactions surrounding the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. With their personal details and professional backgrounds widely publicized, the Crooks family faces significant safety concerns. Trump supporters, who are known for their passionate support of the former president, might direct their anger and frustration towards the family. The emotional and sometimes volatile nature of political supporters in such high-stakes scenarios raises the risk of harassment or threats against the Crooks.